Welcome back to part 2 of this video series looking at FC Barcelona and one of the greatest teams of all time. The Barca side that won 4 European Cups in 10 seasons between 2006 and 2015. If you joined us in part 1, you'll know that Frank Rijkaard had led Barca to victory against Arsenal in the 2006 Champions League final. But in the following years there would be some significant ins and outs at the club. The 2006-07 season that followed their Champions League success actually couldn't have went much worse for Barca, and thankfully for them, history has erased that year from most fans' memories. But here's a recap. Barcelona would win absolutely nothing that campaign. A pre-season tour of the United States was subsequently blamed for a series of injuries to key players, including their top scorer Samuel Eto'o and the emerging star Lionel Messi. Tensions flared as Eto'o publicly criticised coach Rijkaard, and Ronaldinho himself confessed that his form suffered due to a lack of fitness. It was a complete disaster. Barcelona did occupy the top spot in the Liga for a long time, but allowed Real Madrid to overtake them in the new year. Los Blancos went on to claim the championship. Barcelona managed to reach the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey when Lionel Messi scored one of his most famous ever goals in a 5-2 home win against Getafe. Yet Barca somehow managed to lose the second leg 4-0. That summed up their season. At the 2006 FIFA Club World Cup, Barca lost the final to Brazilian side Internacional, with a late goal sealing their fate. Since the turn of the century, European teams have dominated the South Americans in this fixture, so this was another big blow for Barca. The icing on the cake? That year, in the Champions League, they were knocked out by eventual runners-up Liverpool in the last 16. The following year, things didn't really improve. They came third in the league, and in both the Copa del Rey and Champions League they were knocked out at the semi-final stage. A 4-1 decimation to fierce rivals Real Madrid eventually prompted club boss Joan Laporta to step in and announce that a certain Pep Guardiola, then the manager of Barcelona's B team, would take over from Rijkaard in the summer of 2008. Big things were brewing for Barca. Pep Guardiola won 6 La Liga titles and a European Cup as a Barcelona player during the 90s. Guardiola perhaps wasn't the greatest player on the planet at the time, although he may well have become one of football's greatest ever managers. But this calm and cultured midfielder learned an awful lot from his playing career at Barca, and not least from the great Johan Cruyff, who coached him during his successful period in the Azulgrana midfield. What was total football for Cruyff would later blossom into the tiki-taka Guardiola style of football that we associate today with the likes of Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, Dani Alves and more. They were all pillars of what football fans saw as a tiki-taka revolution, although Pep doesn't like the term, as he revealed in a recent interview. Guardiola brought this style to the Barca first team from the B team he had been coaching before, which wasn't too difficult considering Cruyff had helped instill a similar policy for all of the teams across the famous La Masia Academy at FC Barcelona. The likes of Piqué and Busquets, Fabregas and co. were all brought up playing a free-flowing passing style of football based around possession and positional play. Pep has proved himself as a football genius many times over. He has a style that can asphyxiate any opponent and is clearly an incredible man-to-man motivator. However, he has admitted on plenty of occasions what an incredible crop of players he was gifted at Barca, even though he did help develop them. In a way, it was the perfect storm for the Catalan side, a young and hungry manager with a winning mentality who knew the history of the club, and a golden generation of players, including some of the best local and foreign talent going. It was their time to shine. So what did Barca do in their first season under Pep? They became the first ever Spanish team to win a League, Cup and European Cup treble. Barcelona achieved a triumphant 4-1 victory over Athletic Club Bilbao in the 2009 Copa del Rey final, securing their 25th title in the competition and setting a new record. This remarkable accomplishment was swiftly followed by a historic 6-2 win against Real Madrid just 3 days later. Barcelona had become champions of La Liga for 08-09. The campaign reached its pinnacle in the romance of Rome, when Barcelona claimed their third Champions League title and their first under new boss Pep Guardiola. The Azulgrana shone with a 2-0 victory over Manchester United at the Stadio Olimpico. Samuel Eto'o and Lionel Messi were the heroes of the day, scoring the goals that sealed this momentous achievement. And it's also worth noting that despite Real Madrid's well-documented European exports, they have never won a treble. Barcelona's European journey started early that season with a comfortable victory in the competition's third qualifying round over Polish side Wisła Krakow. FC Barca then topped a group that included Basel of Switzerland, Sporting Lisbon of Portugal, and Ukraine's Shakhtar Donetsk. The Champions League was a fierce competition that year. In the last 16, there were ties like Liverpool against Real Madrid, Inter Milan against Manchester United, and Chelsea against Juventus. The English sides came out on top in all of those games and looked like the biggest threats to Barca's crown. Barcelona beat Lyon in the last 16 and then smashed Bayern Munich in the quarter-finals, but an extremely strong Chelsea side were waiting in the semis. A team led by a peak Frank Lampard and Didier Drogba that had won the Premier League in 05 and again in 06. In the end, this semi-final was one of the more controversial ones of its time, and it has to be said that if VAR had been around at that time, Barca may not have ended up as champions. It was 0-0 in the first leg in Barcelona, but in London things got spicy. Chelsea were clearly the better side on the night, and they led 1-0 through Michael Essien. But meanwhile, they had goals disallowed for offside and a few convincing penalty claims turned down. Then, in the dying embers of the game, Andres Iniesta pulled a sublime strike out of absolutely nowhere. A finish of the highest quality that rocketed into the top corner of the net to equalise on the night and put Barca through to the final on away goals. Chelsea were enraged, and rightly so, but Barca, one way or another, had got it done. Manchester United had defeated Arsenal in the other semi-final, and it was all set for a young Messi and Ronaldo to go head-to-head for the trophy. A front three of Messi, Henry and Samuel Eto'o took the stage for Barca. Despite injury worries over Thierry Henry and Andres Iniesta, they both made the starting 11 for the final. There was no place, however, for suspended fullbacks Dani Alves and Eric Abidal. It didn't matter too much in the end. Eto'o struck for Barca within just 10 minutes of the kickoff, and the La Liga side managed to stay on top for the rest of the game. The cherry on top of the cake came in the form of a rare Lionel Messi header on 70 minutes. The young Argentine leapt into the air to meet a Javi cross and seemed to hang there like he was Michael Jordan going for a dunk. Messi finished expertly as Rio Ferdinand turned away in disbelief. Messi had made his mark on the biggest stage of them all, and Barca had become treble champions under Pep. The dynasty was here, and if you're enjoying this tale of Barcelona glory, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for part 3.